Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into the world of OLAF, the European Union's powerful watchdog, and how it tackles fraud in a system that handles billions of euros.
So, let's start with a really disturbing question. What happens when money that's supposed to fund progress and new ideas is actually twisted to punish the very people who have those ideas? We're going to explore a case that asks this exact question, and look at the EU agency designed to get to the bottom of it.
And that agency is OLAF, the European Anti-Fraud Office. Now, it's easy to think of them as just auditors, but a better way to see them is as the sun of the EU budget. Their entire job is to shine a really bright light into the shadiest corners of EU spending, exposing fraud and corruption so that taxpayer money is actually used for what it was meant for.
Okay, Act 1 of our story. It all starts with something called the Pact of Silence. This is a case built around a pretty shocking allegation that EU funds, which are there to spark new ideas, were instead weaponized to enforce conformity and shut down anyone who spoke out.
And this right here, this is the poison pill at the heart of the allegation. Just imagine you're offered funding for your amazing project, but it comes with this toxic, unwritten rule: you only get the money if you agree to a pact of silence. You have to promise not to report any problems you see. For an agency like OLAF, that isn't just a red flag. It's a sign that the entire purpose of the system has been corrupted.
So, as you can see from OLAF's initial hypotheses, they weren't just looking for a simple accounting mistake. No. They were investigating a potential systemic breakdown, a system where funds are misused, project evaluations are weaponized, and the whole thing is held together by this alleged pact of silence.
And things got even more personal. The case file alleges that a secret hidden file, an expediente oculto, was created about a teacher, completely without their knowledge. You know, this isn't just bending the rules. This is the alleged weaponization of official procedures against a single person.
This slide really shows you the two-track system that was allegedly at play. On one track, you have projects that just maintained the status quo. They got approved. But on the other track, you have projects that were actually aligned with the EU's goals for innovation, and they got blocked. The central allegation here is that EU money meant to drive change was actively being used to stop it.
So how on earth do you uncover something like this? Well, this brings us back to our little celestial analogy. If OLAF is the sun shining its powerful light on the case, it needs the moon to reflect that light down on the ground. And that's the job of the national anti-fraud bodies. They coordinate the investigation right there where it's happening.
To get to the truth, OLAF brings out a pretty powerful toolkit. We're talking about unannounced on-site inspections, diving deep into digital forensics to pull up deleted emails, interviewing everyone involved, and, of course, following the money. Each step is like finding another piece of a puzzle that someone tried very hard to keep hidden.
Now, this timeline, which comes from the case file, it shows what investigators allege is a pattern of institutional attack. It starts with supposedly manipulated meeting minutes, then escalates to a falsified disciplinary notice, and it all leads up to a formal not-fit report sent from a very, very intimidating email address. Its official procedures allegedly being used as weapons.
And then there's this email address. I mean, in a situation where someone already feels harassed, getting a message from an official address that literally reads as "die" is, well, it's more than just a procedural error. It's seen as a threat. And using an anonymous, official channel like this is a massive breach of trust. The investigation allegedly uncovered a whole web of legal violations. We're talking about fundamental breaches of GDPR, Europe's big data protection law. Things like illegally processing personal data, or even misusing sensitive health information. And on top of that, basic administrative laws were allegedly broken, creating documents and procedures that might be legally void from the very beginning. This goes way beyond money. It's a catastrophic failure of governance.
But you know, just gathering the evidence is only half the job. OLAF's most important work is arguably what happens next: fixing the system so that this kind of thing can never happen again.
OLAF's recommendations are like a surgical strike.
Yes, they want to recover any misused funds, but more importantly, they want to disinfect the entire system. That means demanding crystal clear criteria for all funding, creating whistleblower channels that actually work and protect people, and making sure that anyone who breaks the rules can be kicked out of future EU funding.
And these recommendations don't just stay on paper. They get turned into concrete action plans. A proposed 90-day plan like this gives the institution a clear, time-bound roadmap to prove they're serious about reform and to start rebuilding trust.
99. Think about that. The initial complaint in this case identified over 99 separate legal and administrative violations. A number that huge doesn't point to a few honest mistakes. It points to what the source documents call a potential systemic architecture of abuse.
So, why should a complicated case like this matter to the rest of us? Well, because protecting the EU budget isn't just about accounting. It's about protecting the entire purpose of the European Union.
I mean, just look at the scale of this. OLAF is the guardian of billions upon billions of euros from these massive programs. Next Generation EU, the European Social Fund, Erasmus+. This is money that's supposed to be building a better, more innovative, and more connected Europe for all of us. Ultimately, OLAF's work is defending the very promise of the EU. It's about making sure that our collective funds are actually used for progress and not to protect some broken or corrupt status quo. It's about making sure these huge, ambitious projects aren't sabotaged from the inside.
And this, really, is the key takeaway. OLAF's fight for integrity isn't just some abstract idea. It's about making sure that a teacher with a great new project, or a small business with a green idea, or a researcher with a potential breakthrough all get a fair shot. It protects the whole system so that progress is possible for everyone.
And that leaves us with one last question to think about. If fraud is like a disease infecting the system, is transparency, that bright, constant light from the sun, the only real cure? That's all for this explainer. Thanks for joining us.